Hello there, everybody. I'm so glad that you are here. We are here for the LinkedIn Live with Patric McCallum, and we're going to really talk about some serious stuff because, you know, I always say lawyers go to school, study hard, take the bar, and work long hours, billable hours. I mean, why aren't there more millionaire lawyers here? Why are there so many stressed lawyers and overwhelmed? I mean, given you've paid the price. You've paid the price, so why not find the joy? Why not find the satisfaction? Why not find the profitability? And a lot of it has to do with the mindset. So that's what we're here on the Wonder Years to talk about, to try to get you to really think outside the box. Like, don't go to law school, pass the bar, and then put on the handcuffs. Don't put on the handcuffs. And now here you are chained and slaving at your desk 60 hours and still behind and stressed. We don't want that. So that's why we have the Wonder Years, so that you can think about different options. Now, I was so fascinated when I met Patric, known him for a long time, but to really get to know him and about his practice. And I was like, here is someone that actually he thought outside the box and he recreated his practice. So he's going to tell you a little bit about what wasn't working, what he was doing, how hard he was working, and all of that, and then what had him to change, and then what's working for him right now in his law practice. So Patric, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you so much, Pamela, for having me here. I'm honored and privileged to have been asked, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity. So yeah, my name is Patric, and I am what you call a recovering trial lawyer. At least I call it that. Having retired from trial work, I actually went back after you and I chatted, and I went back and looked at a little bit of the history. Retired in April of 2017 from trial work, and it was a very hard shift. That came about, not necessarily of my own choosing, but I learned a lot of lessons from it, and I'm doing things very differently now. And had what happened to me not happened, I would probably still be doing that level of trial work and those hours and that physical, mental, psychological commitment that comes with that level of work that I was doing. And so, in many ways, I'm very lucky to have for that to have happened to me, and I'll talk about that in more detail here in a second. But just on a big picture basis, yeah, it's I've got a lot of wisdom from that, and I got a lot of experience from that, and I'm very happy to share so that others, to the extent that they are interested or inclined to do so, can benefit from what happened to me.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So when you talk about some of the stresses, what would a typical day when you were in the throes of the stress of being a litigator, what might be a typical week or day look like for you?
Oh gosh. Well, I think I want to harken back a little bit to what you said about law school. And I think in law school, we as lawyers were trained we're trained to have a level of focus that we didn't, most of us probably did not heretofore have that before we got into school. And with that level of focus comes a certain level of blinders to anything else going on around you, anything else happening in the world. Excuse me. And then I think we carry that into our law practice and into our clerkships and into our associateships and then into our quest for partnership and whatever else that our career goals hold for us. And the detriment that comes with that is that we are trained to worry about the next, I would say, series of 3 to 5 fires. Everything in your office is on fire at all times. It's just a question of how big are the fires? What's the what fire has got the highest priority right now? And that's what lawyers devote their bandwidth to. I need to address what is on fire right now. So what you would hear me say back when I was trying cases at the level that I was you would hear me say, well, I'd love to go on vacation, or I'd love to go spend, a day out, or I'd love to go, let's go out to dinner. I'd love to do that. But I have a mediation. I have a deposition. I have a series of depositions. I have a hearing. I have a trial. I have, whatever that priority fire is. And then it's always, and once I'm past that, then I'll have some capacity, and then I can do, and what, but the result is as soon as that fire's out, the next thing is on fire. There's another priority fire that has gotten as big as the thing you just put out. And so it's a never ending cycle. But you can't see that. At least I couldn't see that when I'm in that forest. I needed some outside perspective. I need somebody who could see the forest, because all I can see is trees. And I was very lucky to have that with my partner and my wife Charlotte, who helped me with that. And it did actually cause some stress in our relationship, because when I'm at home, whether I'm working or not, in the way that I did trial work, I was in trial mode, is what she called it. And I'd walk around the house in trial mode. And from her perspective, she's like, you're bringing this home. You're bringing this litigation. You're bringing this trial work home. You're bringing this attitude, this focus home. And you're not really here. You are elsewhere. Because in my mind, I've got, 17 levels of three-dimensional chess that I'm playing at any given moment, because I have, anywhere from 100 to 200 active cases that I'm prosecuting all at the same time. So it's very, very difficult to get that to stop, and to even get some space or some distance from that. And so one of the things that I think lawyers as a group need to, should look at is finding ways to calm that. And I think that's also one of the reasons perhaps lawyers turn to alcohol, drugs, that kind of thing, is because that is an easy way to numb. But it's not a healthy way to numb. It's not a constructive way to numb. So it's about kind of being self-aware that this is what's actually happening to you. This is what is actually your experience. And if that's the life you want, then that's great. You can choose that. That's there. But it's whether or not it's actually a choice, and especially an informed choice. Because if you don't know that it's happening to you, you haven't actually made an informed choice. You have just slid into non-responsive consent, is what you've done. And then you just keep doing the same thing over and over, perhaps expecting a different result, because you keep saying, I'm going to have bandwidth. I'm going to have capacity. I'm going to be able to do the things I want. I just have to finish. And it never works out that way. So you keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result that never comes. But the years go by, the time goes by, and suddenly you're a 20-year trial lawyer, a 30-year trial lawyer, and you're looking around saying, wow, what did I miss? Because it's all gone. So
yeah. So how many years were you in when you finally made the choice to switch?
I consider myself licensed to some degree in 96, because I had a bar card starting my second year of law school that let me be in court, actually doing in-court things under the supervision of an attorney. So that would have been 21 years.
Wow. So why don't you tell them how you, what happened, and how you decided to make the switch in your career, your law practice, and in your life?
Sure. So it had been building, with the benefit of outside perspective and hindsight. I realized that it had actually been building. It had been getting harder and harder, and more people, including doctors, had been telling me, look, you can't keep doing this at the level to which you're doing this. And one doctor told me specifically, he said, look, either you will shut this down, or it will shut itself down for you. And if that happens, you're not going to like that result, but those are really your choices. And that is actually what happened on April 17th of 2017. I had a really bad day in court, and I got out of the courthouse, and I just started having all kinds of physical and psychological symptoms. And so I picked up the phone and I called my doctor, who was a friend of mine. So I kind of had pat phone access to him. And I said, look, I'm not okay. and I need help. And he said, fine, I'm clearing my calendar, come in. Um, and he told me, he said, yeah, I've been telling you, this is not going to work out well for you. And this is just the next stage of the warning that it is going to shut itself down if you don't. I went home and talked to Charlotte. I told Charlotte what happened, and she said, well, then, okay, you're out,
Mhm.
and we'll figure this out. We'll figure out what we need to do, in terms of what you're going to do for your next adventure. But this adventure is over, and we're going to get you out. And I withdrew from all pending trial work and litigation within 2 weeks. It was all gone.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was all gone.
Mhm.
And there were a couple of fights that I had to have to get out. I had a couple of judges who were just did not want to let me go,
Sure.
which is frustrating. I mean, I don't think any lawyer should be beholden
Right.
to work when clearly it's not appropriate to do so.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, there it
Yeah.
was.
Right.
So
From your hospital bed.
right. I mean, and it's just there's just a lot that seems to be broken
Right.
with the legal system, and that's part of it.
Mhm.
But then it was figuring out, okay, now what do you want to do? And I will tell you that answering the question, well, what do you want to do, is probably the hardest question I have ever had to figure out and answer. And candidly, I'm not sure that I still know the answer. This
Yeah.
is just what I'm doing right now. I love what I'm doing right now,
Yeah.
but it's really difficult to just stop and put yourself in a private space and ask yourself, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Do you want to mediate? Do you want to do general counsel work? Do you want to go in-house? Do you want to leave law altogether and go into business? There's a myriad of things that you could do.
Mhm.
So then it's a question of, well, then you've got to hone that down, and what do you want to do?
Mhm.
And for me, once that stopped and I wasn't beholden, and my schedule wasn't beholden to the whims and caprices of courts and opposing counsel, what I realized was that I saw the pattern. I saw what I was doing over and over and over. And once you actually see it and you can crystallize it and you can make it tangible, then it's easier to deal with. And so then it became getting used to not having, on Tuesday, not having my Thursday completely devoured by something completely unforeseen,
Right.
and getting used to that. And so ultimately what I realized is that it's like, as a lawyer, I was in a trench and I'm just digging the trench, and all
Mhm.
I can see around me is the trench. And that event pulled me out of the trench and said, look, there is a world. There
Mhm.
is a whole world,
Right.
and you're not seeing it, and you're going to miss out. And so it's about stopping and getting outside that trench and just taking a look around, and then asking yourself, why am I, because Charlotte did actually ask me this. She said, why are you wanting to still do trial work? What goal do you have? What mountain have you not climbed? What have you not conquered that you want to conquer? Do you want to argue before the US Supreme Court? Do you want to, I mean, you've gotten all the verdicts and all the judgments and all the settlements and all the things you wanted. What else is left? And the answer was, there wasn't anything actually left. It was just what I do, and I do it from day to day to day, and I do the very best I can. But there wasn't anything left,
Mhm.
actually. But she had to stop me and get me in that space, and then ask the question.
Mhm.
And then you've got to reflect, and you've got to give an honest answer, or at least give that very considered and thoughtful deliberation to
Mhm.
come up with, what's really right for you.
Yeah, so we're coming towards the end. I would like for you to share what changed. What is the Patric, in litigation, and the Patric now? Like, what is your life and practice like today?
Oh, wow. So what it's like now. I am able to carve out time and space for exercise. I am able to carve out time and space to cook. I am able to carve out and takes time to go outside and stop. I can literally design my day and my week to be what I want it to be. I work when I want to work. I don't work when I don't want to work. Um, and I can be a little bit more choosy about what I want to do and who I want to work with,
Mhm.
because I'm not trying to just, keep feeding the machine that's digging the trench.
Right.
I'm actually choosing for me. Every person that I choose to work with,
Mhm.
I consider and I think about, do I like this? Is this what I want to do? Is this work that I'm happy doing? Does this bring me satisfaction? And if the answers to those are yes, then I do it.
Mhm.
But in trial mode, no, you need to be in court for something. I'm your dude. And yeah, pay my retainer, sign my fee agreement, hand me
Right.
some documents, and point me in the right direction, and I'll go do stuff.
Okay. And one
Um,
thing I wanted to ask you, because we're at time here. How do you think this affect your family life?
my family life has gotten 1,000% better, 1,000% better because I'm present. I'm present and I'm intentional in my relationship, whereas my relationship before was tangential, and by necessity had to be in order for me to do what I was doing.
Mhm.
But that wasn't an informed choice. I realize it was a passive consent,
Yes.
and now that it's an intentional choice, is so much more meaningful.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Patrick, in because we're at 16 minutes now, actually, what would you say to someone who feels like they're stuck in the trench?
Find somebody, whether that's a therapist, a counselor, a friend, a spouse, somebody, a family member who you rely on and who you trust,
Mhm,
and tell them, this is give them the 2 minute, this is what I'm doing, this is what's going on with me, as best
mhm.
you can,
Yes.
and ask them to say, look, can you help me get out of this? Can you help pull me out of this and let me understand what my choices are and make those intentional as opposed to passive. That outside perspective for me was necessary. If I hadn't had it and relied on it and trusted it, I
Yes.
would probably have fallen right back into the same rut.
Well, maybe
And
you might
and
not be alive today, or at least not able to function. So,
oh yeah, it would have been a very, very different outcome. Yes.
awesome. Thank you so much, Patrick. And for you all who are listening and watching, we have the Wonder Years every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. And Patrick is just an example of how you can have choices in your Wonder Years. And when we talk about the Wonder Years, although someone said today, do you speak to millennials? Yes, I do talk to millennials. I don't close the door on millennials, but primarily Gen X and Boomer lawyers are at transitions where if they're going to continue to live and be healthy, they've got to change directions. And so that's why we have the Wonder Years here for you. So thank you so much for being here. And I'm sure most of you will be getting the replay. And Patrick, thank you. We so appreciate your story. I think it's really important, and it can really help a lot of people who feel stuck in what they're doing now. So bye all, and we'll see you next week.